Today, we are diving deep into a truly delicious debate: what actually makes the perfect loaf of banana bread? We're going to unpack the science behind all those super popular recipes you see online, not just to find the best one, but to give you the keys to create your very own signature loaf.
Okay, let's start with a scene I know you've all experienced. You've got that bunch of bananas sitting on the counter. They're covered in brown spots, they're way past their prime for eating. And you know you can't throw them out because this, as literally every recipe agrees, this is the absolute best, maybe the only time to make banana bread.
But here's where it gets tricky. You go online and boom, you are hit with this wave of recipes, all screaming that they are the best. But when you actually look at the ingredients, they're all different. Some use oil, some use butter, some want brown sugar, others want white. So which one is it? Who's telling the truth here? Well, that's exactly what we're here to figure out. Let's think of this as a friendly little bake-off. We're going to break down the most popular techniques, ingredient by ingredient, and really get into the science of how each little choice creates a totally different result. But before we get into all that serious science, can we just take a moment to appreciate this gem? It's from a food.com recipe, and it is, without a doubt, the most relatable first step for any home baker. We have all been there. All right, let's kick off round one, the fat fight. This is honestly one of the biggest points of division in the banana bread universe. The state of your fat, whether it's solid and creamed with sugar or just melted right in, it completely changes the final texture of your loaf. So in this corner, we've got team creamed butter. This is the go-to method for anyone who loves a lighter, fluffy, almost cake-like bread. And in the other corner, we have team melted butter or oil, the champion for bakers who are after a denser, richer, super moist loaf. Let's see what the pros have to say. So Bon Appetit comes out swinging for team creamed butter. See, when you cream butter, which is just beating softened butter with sugar, you're whipping tons of tiny little air pockets into the mix. Then, in the oven, those air pockets expand, giving the bread lift and creating what they call that plush, springy texture. But hold on, Simply Recipes, a huge fan favorite, says the real secret to great flavor is melted butter. Not only is it easier, you don't even need a mixer, but it also has a scientific purpose. The liquid fat coats the flour, which actually stops too much gluten from developing. That's what gives you a more tender, less tough bread. So the judge's ruling is in, and there's no winner. It really just comes down to your personal taste. As you can see, creaming butter is going to give you a light, cakey crumb. Melted butter or oil, that's your ticket to a denser, richer, moister loaf. The winner of this round is whatever texture you're craving today. Okay, let's move on to our next big battle, the sugar showdown. This isn't just about how sweet your bread is. The kind of sugar you choose makes a huge difference in both the flavor and the moisture level. And here are our two contenders. On one side, we have Team Brown Sugar, which is championed by recipes from places like Sally's Baking Addiction and Bon Appetit. And on the other side, we've got Team White Sugar, which you'll often find in more classic, old-school recipes. Now, the secret ingredient here is something you don't even see on the label: molasses. Brown sugar is really just white sugar with some molasses added back into it. And that molasses is what bakers call hygroscopic, which is just a fancy way of saying it loves to attract and hold on to water. That's what keeps the bread, as Bon Appetit says, soft and supple for days. Plus, it adds this amazing, deep caramel flavor. So here's the bottom line for this round. Brown sugar is your guy for that super moist loaf with those rich caramel notes. White sugar, on the other hand, gives you a cleaner sweetness that really lets the banana flavor be the star of the show. So the choice is yours: rich moisture or pure banana flavor. And speaking of moisture, let's get into the secret weapons that so many of the top-rated recipes use. Round 3 is all about those tangy additions that can take a good banana bread and make it absolutely incredible. If you look really closely at the best recipes out there, you'll start to see these ingredients pop up over and over again. We're talking sour cream, Greek yogurt, buttermilk, even mascarpone. And trust me, they're doing a lot more than just adding moisture. So here's what's actually happening in your mixing bowl. The acid in these ingredients gives your baking soda a major boost. It triggers a chemical reaction that creates extra carbon dioxide bubbles, which means more lift and a softer, more tender bread. And as a bonus, that little bit of tanginess cuts through the sweetness from the bananas and sugar for a perfectly balanced bite. All right, we've got our core batter down. Now it's time to have some fun. A great banana bread recipe is really just a blank canvas. So round 4 is all about the art of the add-in. When you look at what people love to mix in, you definitely see the classics. Chocolate and nuts are the clear winners for adding that great texture and richness. But you've also got fruit for a little chewy sweetness, and of course, spices like cinnamon and nutmeg for warmth. Honestly, almost every recipe out there tells you to go ahead and make it your own. But this is where it gets really interesting. If you start digging through the comments on these recipes, you find some incredible ideas. One baker adds peanut butter chips to make what they call Elvis bread. Others swear by adding pineapple or a drizzle of maple syrup. And get this, one person even adds a splash of apple cider vinegar, using that same acid and baking soda reaction we just talked about for fantastic lift. How smart is that? So, after all this detective work, we come to our final section, baking your perfect loaf. So what's the single best banana bread recipe on the planet? Well, the truth is, it doesn't exist. The best loaf is the one that you think tastes the best. The goal isn't to just find a perfect recipe, it's to build your own.
And to help you do just that, here is the ultimate cheat sheet based on everything we just learned. It's pretty simple. If you want a light and cake-like loaf, you're going to combine creamed butter with white sugar and some yogurt. Craving something dense and ultra-moist, go for melted butter, brown sugar, and sour cream. And for a loaf that's super rich and tangy, try melted butter, brown sugar, and buttermilk.
So the next time you have those spotty bananas sitting on your counter, don't just mindlessly search for a recipe. Think about what you want. Think about what you've learned here and build your own. The real secret isn't in some recipe you find online. It's the one you create in your very own kitchen. So the only question left is, what's your secret ingredient?